How's everyone doing? Today I have a Blu-ray update with 8 pickups, and if you've seen any of them, definitely let me know what you think of them. First up is Black Mass, directed by Scott Cooper, who directed Crazy Heart and Out of the Furnace, 2 movies that are both fantastic and I would highly recommend. Black Mass centers around Johnny Depp, who is a freaking chameleon. He did a great job portraying Irish mob boss from Boston, Whitey Bulger. The look that he had and the movements were just so in tune for him, because I saw actual footage of Whitey Bulger and he just did a fantastic job with that character, and the whole cast really shined, and that was really the driving force for this film. Across the board, you've got Johnny Depp, Joel Edgerton, Benedict Cumberbatch, Kevin Bacon, Jesse Plemons, Peter Sarsgaard, Dakota Johnson, Corey Stoll, who's fantastic in The Strain, and also Juno Temple, who's beautiful and talented as well. So it was a tour de force performance from Johnny Depp, but I think his performance is actually better than the movie as a whole. It was a dramatically paced gangster movie. He was very brooding and psychotic, killing lots of people. And he was also an FBI informant working with the FBI to take down the Italian mob, which is essentially his competition, so it worked out well for him. But the movie focuses on a lot of interpersonal relationships, and it was a bit dramatically paced that didn't work as well as it could have for this film. It's still a decent film, but I felt like it could have been better. But the film looks and sounds great on Blu-ray, and the special features were phenomenal, especially the one going over his 16 years on the run while being on the FBI's most wanted list. That was a great hour-long documentary on here, and a nice release overall from Warner Brothers. Really nice slipcover right there. And there's more special features in here going over how he got the look down. They show the prosthetic bald cap, which looks real. I thought maybe he shaved his head for it. It was that realistic. There's the digital copy, and there's the Blu-ray and DVD. And the fact that this was based on true story makes Johnny Depp's performance even scarier and the film even darker. And let me know what your favorite Johnny Depp movie is. My favorite Johnny Depp movie is Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man. Such a surreal and tragically beautiful film, and great performance again from Johnny Depp. And I think this movie right here, Black Mass, and his performance definitely brings Johnny Depp back into prominence acting-wise. He's done a few films that haven't been so great in the past few years, and I think this one is just such a strong performance. It puts him right back at the top for our generation. And next up from Disney is the classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, an all-time animated classic. And let me know what your favorite classic Disney movie is. And everybody knows this movie about the evil queen and the seven dwarves and true love and friendship. You can't go wrong with this one, and this is their newest release from them. They had the Diamond release, which went out of print or back into the vault, and this is the Signature collection with a bunch of new special features in here. In Walt's World, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, iconography, Disney animation designing Disney's first princess, the fairest facts of them all, a whole bunch more special features, a ton of special features in here, but not all the special features from the Diamond edition were ported over. So there's a bunch of new special features here, but there's special features on the previous edition that would have been great to be ported over here. But you know, if you're a big fan of the movie or a big Disney fan, I think this is still a great addition to get because of the special features on here that are new. And you got the nice emblem right there for the Signature collection. And it's also the first time that it comes on digital HD with the digital copy on here. And there we go, nice slipcover as well. And there's the digital copy code right there and a Disney Movie Club advertisement. And there's the DVD and Blu-ray discs. So essentially this is another re-release of the film, just new special features. Next up is The Last Witch Hunter. This is from Lionsgate and starring Vin Diesel. I'm not a big Vin Diesel fan. I've heard mostly negative reviews for it, but I was pleasantly surprised. It has flaws, but it's still a decently entertaining movie with some good effects and a decent plot. I feel like the plot was a little bit muddled and kind of simplified down. I felt like this could have been way better if they added a little bit more depth to the plot, but it still worked. And the supporting cast is really good here as well, with Elijah Wood and Michael Caine. The story revolves around Vin Diesel, who's an immortal witch hunter set in present-day time, and him working with an organization called the Hammer and Cross. And he essentially works with them over the centuries that he's been alive to hunt down witches performing evil magic. They're still witches today. They just don't use the evil magic, but suddenly there's somebody who uses the evil magic, and they're trying to bring back the Queen Witch who he had the epic battle and who made him immortal. So it's a big showdown, and I thought the effects really stood out, and I thought the supporting cast did a great job here. Again, this was much better than I was expecting it to be, but it left me feeling like it could have been so much more. And presentation-wise, it looks great and sounds great on Blu-ray, and a really nice slipcover with a foily embossed title. And there's the back. It has some decent special features in there, audio commentary, and also animated short films, and a music video cover for Paint It Black with scenes from the movie. And some other featurettes. And there's the slipcover. And I'll go ahead and show you. There is the digital copy code, and some nice artwork right there on the discs with Vin Diesel and his flaming sword. And next up from Well Go USA is Estranged. This was a very atmospheric movie with some creepy moments, but overall it kind of fell flat for me personally. This is the directorial debut of Adam Levins. I think it was a decent debut, but he could definitely learn a lot from this one. The hue to the movie is very washed out, which reflects the bleak tone. It's basically about the lead character of January who gets into an accident, and she's wheelchair bound, and she loses her memory, and she goes back to her home, which is a big estate with lots of land, and things seem out of place, and she's trying to figure everything out, and she's hoping her memories will come back. And it has a twist which I think is pretty much predictable. The family members, suddenly get a little bit crazier as the movie progresses, and once the twist is revealed, there's certain aspects of it I wish they would have delved into a little bit more. It does have some good psychological thrills and some violence as well, but I just wanted a little bit more from it, and it's just something that I felt like we've seen similar before, especially with another movie that just came out. I'm not going to talk about that movie because it'll kind of give away the twist, but we've kind of seen this twist a lot lately, it seems like. I think it was a decent film. They just could have done much more with it. And again, I thought the twist was a little bit predictable, and they could have delved more into it as well. I think the cast members all did great in their roles, though, with what they had to work with. And there's the disc artwork right there, and an advertisement for some more films. Next up from Olive Films is Beat Street. This is just a great time capsule of a movie starring Ray Don Chong, and it has a lot of early hip-hop pioneers in here. African Bambaataa, Kool Moe Dee, Kool Herc, Melly Mel, Brenda K. Starr, Dougie Fresh, just a ton. And Beat Street is set in the South Bronx in the early 1980s, and it is just a very authentic movie with the look and everybody involved in this film. And it's basically about the South Bronx and a group of friends who are trying to make it doing graffiti art, breakdancing, doing hip-hop and DJing and things like that, and just their life in the urban setting and trying to make it. And it was very entertaining and has a fantastic soundtrack. And it's a shame that some of the actors, this was some of their only roles in here. There were a few who did other things, especially Ray Don Chong, who is stunning here. But this is just a very entertaining movie for that setting, very nostalgic as well. Love the breakdancing, love the music, just phenomenal in that aspect of it. And a really nice release from Olive. Definitely the best I've ever seen Beat Street look. And here's the back. And here's the disc artwork right there, and then an advertisement for more Olive releases. And it's directed by Stan Lathan, who's worked a lot in TV over the years and still does currently. And this is just an absolute hip-hop classic film. If you're into early hip-hop, this is definitely a movie to check out. And really cool breakdancing as well. They actually had the New York City Breakers in here and the Rocksteady crew doing their breakdancing. I would have loved to have seen some special features for this film. That's really the only detraction about it. Olive Films doesn't always put a lot of special features out on their releases, just select ones. Usually just the trailers for a lot of their releases. That's really the only detriment here. But again, it's definitely the best it's ever looked and sounded. Next up from Olive Films is Amos and Andrew. The titles obviously play on Amos and Andy, which is fitting for this movie because it deals with racial stereotypes and things of that nature. I think this movie is still relevant today with the things that happen in here. And the main stars are Nicolas Cage, Samuel L. Jackson, Dabney Coleman. There's a bunch of other recognizable faces in here. The whole cast was great and really played their roles very well. Brad Dourif too. You'll see a whole bunch of people who are like, oh, I know them. A lot of great character actors in here. And the movie centers around Samuel L. Jackson, who buys a vacation home in an upscale area in New England, and his neighbors see him in there and they think he's robbing the place because he's black. And the police come in there and they start shooting at him, and they realize he's famous and that he just bought the house. So they set up Nicolas Cage, who's a career criminal, and basically make him take Samuel L. Jackson hostage. And they both realize that they're both being essentially used by the police. The police chief is played by Dabney Coleman right there. So they both essentially run from the police. And this was actually very entertaining, had some great comedic moments to it. Again, some great social commentary too. Lots of references for that throughout the movie. And it's the only film that E. Max Fry ever directed, but he has written films such as Something Wild and recently Foxcatcher, which he was a co-writer on. And this is from 1993, so a little bit earlier in both of their careers, although they've done stuff before this. One of the things I'll say about Nicolas Cage in this movie is the fact that he had these tattoos that just look gaudy. They looked like they were just kind of created with magic marker. They were just terrible looking. I'm not a huge Nicolas Cage fan, but he played the role very well. And there was a dialogue in here from Nicolas Cage about sea monkeys, which I thought was peculiar, but very fitting as well. And this is one that I was actually pleasantly surprised by. Again, entertaining, social commentary, it definitely worked, and great cast. And there's the disc artwork for Amos and Andrew. And next up from Twilight Time is The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson and Randy Quaid and Otis Young. And this is limited to 3,000 copies. It's basically about two naval officers who have to take in another naval officer to naval jail, essentially. And it's basically them showing him a good time before he goes to jail. He's young. I think he's like 18 or so. And he's going to be going to jail for 8 years for stealing $40 out of a polio jar, like a donation jar. And they think that's kind of way too much, but they're trying to show him a good time before he has to go away. It's kind of a depressing movie, but has some really entertaining moments as well, and a lot of emotional honesty. Great performances across the board. Otis Young and Jack Nicholson are the naval officers taking Randy Quaid in, and Randy Quaid is so crazy now. If you've seen him recently, it's like night and day to see him in roles like this, although he clearly has some mental issues here in this movie that he needed to have gotten help for. But this was a different time back then. This takes place in 1973, and the film is directed by Hal Ashby, who also directed Coming Home, Being There, and the classic Harold and Maude. So it was in great hands directorial-wise. And the only special features here are isolated score track and then the trailer. And Twilight Time always does a great job transfer-wise and packaging-wise. There's the disc artwork. Usually comes with a booklet right here, which I'll go ahead and flip through. Lots of information about the films and shots and scenes, which is always nice. And there's interior artwork as well, right there. And last but not least is Criminal Activities, directed by Jackie Earle Haley, who's been an actor around for a long time. This is his directorial debut. This movie feels like it copies so many other movies. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Suicide Kings, a lot of movies very similar to this are out there, and it just seems kind of generic because we've seen it so many times before. You could say this film is homages to those other films, or it just borrows them, kind of like what Quentin Tarantino does with most of his movies, but you know, Quentin Tarantino is hugely famous for doing that. And I think this is a stylistic movie, and it's well acted, especially with the supporting cast here. Jackie Earle Haley actually stars in here too as one of the tough guys from John Travolta, who's a mob boss here. There's Jackie Earle Haley right there, and I couldn't really believe him in that role as the tough guy. He's the guy that really kind of, he's not the muscle per se, but he walks with the muscle. There's the one guy who beats everybody up, and he's the guy with the gun who does all the talking and interrogating. I guess he's kind of quiet. I just feel like, you know, if it's just him by itself, not too imposing. But basically, it's about a group of friends who get a tip about a stock that's supposed to be, you know, a great deal, and it turns out not to be. And they find out that one guy borrows the money from a mob boss, and the mob boss, played by John Travolta, he's basically saying, you know, if you don't do me a favor, I'm going to kill you all. So he has them kidnap a relative of an adversarial mob boss, and they kind of get in over their heads when they kidnap him, and things get out of hand. And they find out that people have different ulterior motives, and I kind of see part of this twist coming, but it's all about the twist for this movie. But I wish they would have gone in a little bit more at the end about different characters. Like they kind of gloss over. I was like, I wanted to find out about this character. What happened to their ending, you know? Overall, it was a decent film, a good directorial debut from Jackie Earle Haley. I just wish it wasn't so generic and relied so much upon the twist that you can kind of see coming. There's like little hints here and there. I do like the revelation at the end, but I felt like they could have done more with it as well and made it stand out a little bit more from all these other movies that we've seen so similar to this. Again, the cast did a great job here, especially the supporting cast. And I like to see more from Jackie Earle Haley directing-wise. He's been around so long, great character actor. And this is a decent release from RLJ Entertainment, picture quality and audio quality-wise. Nice slipcover right there. And there you go. And there's the disc artwork. So essentially it's a mafia tale, a kidnap tale, and a revenge tale all tied in one. And there's some good thrills and acting and drama in here. So there you go, those are my 8 pickups. And again, if you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.